The PlayStation 5 rumors have been running wild as of late, but today it's not time for rumors. Today it's time to dive into what's actually coming for the next generation system. An exclusive article just hit Wired this morning, revealing quite a bit of exciting information about the upcoming PS5. We're talking about specs, backwards compatibility, and much more. Now, when it comes to a new generation system, you expect things like a new GPU, new CPU, more memory. Every time you get a new console, you expect it to be more powerful than the last. That goes without saying, and Sony is providing just that and much more with the PS5. Now, we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. Like I said, the article for Wired will be linked below in the description if you want to read the entire thing and see everything that they've revealed. What I'm going to do is just kind of touch on the key points that they talked about and kind of break those down. So it says PlayStation's next generation console ticks all of the boxes, starting with an AMD chip at the heart of the device. And the CPU is based on the third generation of AMD's Ryzen line. The GPU is said to support ray tracing, a technique that models the travel of light to simulate complex interactions in 3D environments. Now, basically what ray tracing is, to kind of put it in simpler terms, it's basically technology that allows the light to kind of mimic how it would behave in real life and how it bounces off objects and how it bounces between objects. The article goes on to say, while ray tracing is a staple of Hollywood visual effects and is beginning to worm its way into high-end processors, no game console has been able to manage it yet. So that's really good news for the PS5, basically saying they're going to be the first console that is able to actually manage ray tracing. Now, whether or not the Xbox for next generation is going to be able to do that as well, we don't know yet because we haven't heard much about Xbox yet, but it is good news looking forward to the next generation in terms of the PlayStation 5. It says that ray tracing's immediate benefits are largely visual, but that the applications go beyond graphic implications. If you wanted to run tests to see if the player can hear certain audio sources, or if the enemies can hear the player's footsteps, ray tracing is useful for that, the article says. The article also goes on to talk about audio in general for the PlayStation 5 and how it's making a much bigger leap this generation than it did last generation. It says here, the AMD chip also includes a custom unit for 3D audio that will redefine what sound can do in a video game. As a gamer, it's been a little bit of a frustration that audio did not change too much between PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. With the next console, the dream is to show how dramatically different the audio experience can be when we apply significant amounts of hardware and horsepower to it. Now, the PlayStation 4 and even the PlayStation 4 Pro made significant leaps in terms of the visuals, in terms of the power of the system, without a doubt. But this time around, they want to make sure that the PlayStation 5 is truly a next generation system in terms of not only just the graphics and the power, but in terms of the audio as well. And I think that the audio is something that goes overlooked by maybe more casual gamers, but the audio is so important to the experience of these games, and it's really good to see that PlayStation or Sony is, putting such a heavy emphasis on it this time around. Now, all of that sounds great, but that's not even the best part. The next feature for the PlayStation 5 is, and I quote, a true game changer and is the key to the next generation. One of the biggest problems for consoles are the hard drives. It kind of bottlenecks the system in a sense. As games get bigger, they take longer to load, and gamers hate load times. So with that said, the next generation PlayStation will include an SSD. Now, we don't know what kind yet. Obviously, they're still keeping a lot of information under wraps until the right time, but this is still huge news nonetheless. Now, for context, they did a demonstration. There's obviously no footage of this to show, but basically what they did was they had, the latest Spider-Man game running on a PS4 Pro, and then they also had Spider-Man running on a PS5 dev kit. Now, keep in mind, a dev kit is an early, much lower speed version of what the PS5 will actually be. So what they did was they initiated a fast travel sequence in the game on both systems. On the PS4 Pro, it took about 15 seconds to load. Now, on the PS5 dev kit, it took a whopping 0.8 seconds. And that's not even the true speed of what the PS5 will be. That is a true game changer. We're talking about eliminating load times. Like, they're non-existent now. That is absolutely phenomenal to hear. And that's really just the beginning in terms of what having an SSD can do, and also the fact that the system was built with having an SSD in mind. This also affects the speed at which a world can be rendered, and thus the speed which a character can move through that world. This is really huge. So they did another demonstration with Spider-Man, basically showing that no matter what, your character could only move so fast on the PS4 Pro. As Spider-Man is swinging through the city, the camera can only keep up so much because the game still has to load everything else at the same time. So basically, no matter how fast you try to go, there's pretty much a limit because the camera can only trace you or track you so fast because of the loading that has to happen, rendering the rest of the city as you swing through it. Now, when they did the same thing on the PS5 dev kit, Spider-Man was able to move much faster because the camera was able to keep up because of how fast everything can be loaded with the SSD. It didn't have to, in a sense, hold itself back because the city could render out pretty much instantly. So not only does this eliminate load times, but it also makes the games perform better, which is just huge. This is a true game changer, like they said. The article also reveals that the PS5 will indeed be backwards compatible with PS4 games. Now, I know what you're thinking. We've all heard the rumors that the system would be backwards compatible with all PlayStation games, but perhaps there's still a chance for that. That could be a bombshell that they're waiting to reveal closer to launch at their own conference. That's what a lot of people actually believe. They think that there's still a chance for this, that they could be waiting. They don't want to drop that right now. They want to wait, to do that on their own time, maybe as we get closer to launch. And another thing here is the system is going to support physical media as well, which is another good sign for possible backwards compatibility being bigger than what what's been revealed so far. With all the discussion about cloud streaming and consoles potentially being just download only, the PS5 will not be this way. They don't think that they are currently in the position to release a console that does not support physical media. So that's a good sign, especially with what Xbox is doing with their discless One S that is coming out soon. So the backwards compatibility speculation is a really interesting one. For my audience here in particular, think of games like NCAA 14. If we were to get further backwards compatibility beyond the PS4, you're talking about playing NCAA 14 on the PS5, which is something sports gamers would absolutely die for, seeing as the series no longer exists. Think of the old boxing games like Fight Night Round 3 and Round 4. The possibilities are endless, as we only know so much right now, but what we're hearing does sound extremely good and promising for what's coming in the next generation. Now, that's not it. They also talk about the console supporting 8K. Yes, the console will support 8K, and yes, we are already talking about 8K. It seems like 4K just happened. In fact, most people haven't even experienced native 4K yet. That's how new it still is in terms of, the mass audience, of people out there. But it's definitely good that Sony is doing this with the PlayStation 5, because what they're doing is they're future-proofing their system. They're making sure that the system is ready for 4 or 5 years down the line when 8K does become more common and more affordable. But at least for right now, as we speak today, the TVs that deliver 8K are very far and few in between. Now, with that said, the console isn't coming out this year. It is slated for a 2020 release. So by then, there will definitely be more 8K options, but it still definitely won't be the standard. 4K even by 2020 might still not be the standard. It will definitely be a lot cheaper, but as we speak right now, 4K isn't the standard for most people. So we're not really sure where we're going to be in 2020. But there's actually even some speculation that the PS5 might not even truly come out in 2020. A lot of people are speculating that it probably won't truly come out until 2021, but all of that remains to be seen. As we know right now, they're saying 2020, so that's what we're going to go with. Now, as far as the competition goes, we'll likely learn, a little bit more about the plans for the future Microsoft system at E3. It has been said that Sony isn't going to be at E3 this year, so they're probably just kind of going to keep doing what they're doing and reveal things at their own conference. The PlayStation 5 they did reveal has been in the works for 4 years, so that's before the PlayStation 4 Pro even came out. So they've been hard at this for a while. They're going to reveal the rest when they're ready to, but as far as Microsoft, we should definitely hear, what their plans are at E3, and I'm definitely excited to see what they're going to be bringing for the next generation as well. So that's going to be all for today. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Like I said, the Wired article will be linked below if you want to check that out. And as always, I will see you guys next time.